Hello and welcome to a Sunny 16 podcast extra bonus special episode. Yep, we're back for yet another week of another podcast. Who knew there was so much going on that we'd have to squeeze more than one episode out into the week? But here we are. Here to help me with co-hosting duties on this important squeezing is... Who is it? It's John.
Hello.
He's waving.
Hello. How's it going?
Good, thank you, dude. How are you this morning?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's a pleasure to be here on a Monday morning, seeing your bright, sparkly face.
Said nobody ever. Well, there's a good reason we're here today, because as we mentioned on last week's podcast, one of our favorite companies had an announcement, and this seemed like a great excuse, frankly, to just drag them on here and have a catch up, because it's two of our favorite people. A delight to welcome them back onto video for the first time. Again, should mention this up top. This is going to be on YouTube as well if you want to go and watch this rather than listen to it. Welcome back to the podcast, Michelle and Matt from Ilford Photo. Guys, welcome back.
Hello. We're glad to be here, even if it is a Monday morning.
Well, you brightening up our Monday morning, I think it's very safe to say. I'm always confused, actually. I always introduce you guys as being from Ilford Photo, but I suppose technically you're from Harman Technology. That's the correct answer, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that wouldn't fit on John's lovely photo frame. So Ilford
I
Photo.
probably should have got a different logo, shouldn't
I? It's great to have you back here. It's been... Well, I suppose the last time we spoke to you was at the launch of the Multigrade Deluxe. That would have been the last time we spoke. The Multigrade Deluxe, the Ortho film, which actually we were just looking at, the Ortho film, because I've got a box of it here. Here we go. My Ortho film, which we were just talking about. Imagine that's the right way around. Is it on your screen?
Yep.
And what else was it that came out at that time? Oh, you had the reusable cameras, the reusable plastic cameras. It was a lot. There was a lot going on.
Kit as well. We had the Ilford and Patterson film processing starter kit.
So given everything that went on, and that was only not even a year and a half ago, I don't think, because it was October 2019.
Yeah.
We thought it'd probably be quiet for a while because that tends to be the way it goes. But no, you've dropped on us last week a new announcement of the new, I'm going to get the name wrong, gallery paper?
New paper.
What's the name of the paper?
Portfolio. Ilford Multigrade RC Portfolio.
Oh, well, listen, if you're not going to give things simple names, then of course I'm going to get it wrong.
You just call it Portfolio.
The portfolio paper, okay, not gallery. You do have a gallery paper as well, though, right? Or did you have a gallery paper?
The Ilford gallery is one of the fibre-based graded papers.
I've been looking at a lot of paper lately. I've been spending a lot of time in the shed looking at papers on the internet. That's why I'm a bit confused. We will talk about the paper in a little bit, but before we do, let's have a catch up with how the last 12 months have been for you guys. I'm guessing same old, same old.
Yeah, it's been a tough, long, challenging year. I think personally, professionally, I think as a business, I think for everyone, it's been, not swearing, but it's not been great, has it?
Am I right in saying that Ilford had to close down during the first lockdown? Is that correct?
We didn't. I guess we didn't technically have to. We made a decision at the start of the first lockdown to close, to some areas to stop production, basically, because what we wanted to do, the cases were rising. It was still very unknown what was going on with the world, the pandemic, etc. So we made a decision to temporarily shut production. I think we shut for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, possibly. Yeah, which is the longest we've done it in many, many years. But obviously, prior to that, we'd built up a stock of product so that we could keep things moving. The warehouse kept going throughout this period as well, as did the core team. Michelle kept the social media and the website up and running as well. So yeah, we kept this. Pardon?
I said I was so lucky.
Lucky one, yeah. So yeah, we kept the business kind of going in that way, but we stopped production for a short period just to keep people at home. But since then, production's actually been going fantastically well. It's been running smooth. The danger that you turn off these old machines and you just don't know how they'll react to going back on again. But It's been very smooth, performing very well. So yeah, since then, since probably first week in June, I think it was.
I think it was really well organised as well, because obviously they brought back everyone they needed. So the engineers came back first to make sure the machines were working, and then so it was a phased return as well. So everything was done bit by bit to make sure everything works. What orders have we got? We're starting to generate back orders. So we had to build back up production to make sure the stock was out there. Because one of the things that we found as a business is a lot of people turned and took the opportunity to process their own film, make the first prints, and do things they've not done before. I mean, you must have seen Matt's video that he did on. If not, I will send you the link. Matt's YouTube video. I've got outtakes too, which I'm happy to share.
Yes, please.
We definitely need to see them.
They're more embarrassing for my son than they are for me, in fairness.
No, they're not.
Parents all about.
But yeah, we found, people were taking the opportunity. They were processing their own film. They were having a go where they'd not perhaps done it before, and they were enjoying the results. They were going out with the kids and doing sun prints in the gardens, because we had all that. Well, when I say we, I mean you had that glorious weather. I sat here and watched my other half in the paddling pool with a beer and the kids while I worked, which
it's worth noting actually that as you guys, as people who are watching the video can clearly see, you're both working from home. And Michelle, you've been working from home continuously throughout this whole thing. Matt, Ilford used the pandemic as an opportunity to see how it would feel if they did fire you by furloughing you for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and they couldn't cope, so they brought me back as soon as they could. I think it's worth saying one of the things that also happened during that site shutdown effectively, and what needed to happen is that we as a business used it as an opportunity to make the factory COVID safe. So we put in lots of measures, from temperature checks to all the floor spacings to working bubbles, to all of those sort of things. So the site, from when we opened back up again and when we started phasing people coming back on the site, was a COVID secure environment. And even now we've had very, very few cases of staff that have actually had COVID, and none of them have been, on site at that time. So the site, it was a necessary measure to ensure the kind of protection going forward, and it worked very, very well.
Yeah. Michelle, you were mentioning about the fact that when you were busy working, but everyone else was out enjoying the sun, and a lot of people were furloughed, that a lot of people were maybe printing for the first time or developing for the first time and making the most of it. When you closed the factory down, and you obviously felt like, well, we've got enough of a buffer zone here to keep us going throughout, was that the case? Was there actually any impact to the stock lines going out? Because from chatting to Paul, it seems like there actually may have been a bit of a dip because demand was higher than expected.
A little one, yeah. Which is why we opened up sooner than a lot of places did, because we were seeing the demand. And it's obviously a balancing act, and obviously our exec team and that we're continuously looking at those numbers and balancing at what point we need to reopen manufacturing against everything else that was going on at the time. So there was a slight dip, and there was definitely some of the others in our comm team and that were working, were managing the stock, shall we say, to make sure that everyone got a fair shot at it, and we didn't let anyone put a huge order in and take everything. But hopefully end users, customers didn't see too much of an impact. We know that obviously our dealers, distributors would have noticed it more than anybody else, but we didn't hear a lot from end users saying, I can't get this product. And what we did as well is we put together, with the help of our distributors and our retailers, we put together a list that's still actually on the website of where people could get the products online if they couldn't get into shops. Because a lot of our retailers, whether they're in the UK or around the world, went to either doorstep deliveries or pick up and collection only. So we wanted people to still be able to get hold of products, even if they couldn't go to their local store and go in and browse like they would do. And we're still adding to that list. People are still, as different places hit lockdown around the world, we're still getting other names in and saying, can you add these that are in Australia? Can you add these that are here? Or which is great, because it gives people other places they can buy from as well. It gives them more options in their local area.
Yeah.
That it means consistent supply as well, hopefully.
Whilst we're on the subject of supply, and especially worldwide supply, I suppose the other big question, which is particularly important to ask at the moment, is how is Brexit affecting your stock going out across the world? Is that having an impact?
I think from Brexit, the Brexit deadlines have moved constantly. So throughout every kind of stage of Brexit, we've been in communication with our distributors internationally, and I think it's one of those that before the various deadlines, we kind of made sure that distributors were prepared, that they'd increased their orders, or that it was shipped prior to those deadlines. Now, obviously, those deadlines were then pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, but again, it's just something else that we were managing towards the tail end of last year to ensure that distributors around the world were kind of equipped, because it wasn't just impacting European distributors, it was the availability of the ships, the lorries, and various other things. So it was making sure that they were well prepared. So we've been working with them for a long time now. So we've not seen a major impact or had much in the way of feedback that there's an issue.
And as things are looking now and looking forward, are you fairly happy and confident with the way that the supply chains are going to work going forward? I know there still seems to be quite a lot of unanswered questions and uncertainty around that stuff, but do you feel like you're in a pretty good place for continuing to supply people's needs? And I suppose an even more important question is, are end users in other countries likely to see much of a bump in price to Ilford products because of the new stuff?
I mean, well, I don't think so. I mean, it's very early to tell. Obviously, there's always going to be teething trouble at any sort of change, and we hear it kind of anecdotally from dealers or partners or others that ship direct to customers. We, as I say, we've not noticed any issues so far, but as I say, I still think it's relatively early days now. We would like to think that there wouldn't be any price hikes put on, but again, that they wouldn't be coming from us if they were. But we'd like to think that things will kind of be very smooth as part of a transition for customers. But we don't know. I was speaking to someone from a different company in our industry the other day, and they ship direct to customers in Europe. And I know there's issues with import tax and that and various different things. So it's too early, I think, to say. But I would like to think that so far so good.
Yeah. I have to say, selfishly, I'm very glad you're based in the UK, because we are seeing the impact as Kodak. It has had difficulty getting stock in. You go looking for Kodak films at the moment, and they are in short supply. Sorry, have you not heard of them?
Swear words.
Not on a Monday morning, Graeme. Come on.
They make the batteries. You're familiar with Kodak batteries, right? I've got a pack of them. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, suppliers from outside the UK, it's been half of them getting stuff shipped in for various reasons, and so it's so you guys have kind of got, in the UK at least, a bit more of a open ground for getting on, which is nice for you guys anyway. With that in mind, now we're 9 months on from when you guys when the factories opened back up. Is all stock production now back fully up to speed? Everything moving through? Are all lines well sorted?
Yeah, I mean, they have been since the start of June. As I say, when we went back, the machines have been working very well. I mean, they normally do anyway, but old machines can have teething troubles. But yeah, they've been working very well. So we've got no kind of issues in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
Even the new product, the portfolio is coming through. People will start seeing that around the world as the distributors have ordered it, and it starts shipping out. Some of the lines are in stock. Some of them are coming through in the next week or so.
Yeah.
So it's not like the Ortho that was out of stock when it was launched and then rapidly came and went straight back out. We're still producing the portfolio at the moment. So any orders that come in for that, anyone that wants it needs to get their orders in with the dealers, and the distributors will place the orders on us, and they can get fulfilled in this first make for it.
Can we talk about the Ortho for a minute here? Because I just happened to flash up a packet of it before we start recording, saying, "Oh, look, I've got a load of film here," and you guys both clearly love the Ortho film. So how has that been? Because that was the big thing when we last spoke. The paper was very exciting for people like myself and John doing printing, but for the majority of people, the new film was the thing. How has the reception been? How have the sales been? And how are you enjoying it in particular?
It's so good. It's my favorite. Yeah. It's my new favorite. I love Ortho. It's my new favorite film. I took it in the summer. I mean, Matt uses a bigger variety of films than me. I tend to stick to I've always been a fan of the Delta range. I like the FP4, but Ortho, I put it in the camera. I think I loaded it in the OM10, thinking, I'll see what I get. Put a yellow filter with it, and I love it. So I've shot a good few rolls of it since. I don't think I've actually loaded another roll since. The only problem I've got now is I've got a roll of Ortho halfway through my camera. But again, today's not a bad day, and obviously it's been a bit dull and miserable. So I took it out and shot some snow. So we'll see what happens with that. But it's beautiful. And Matt, you've shot a whole range of different subjects, haven't you, with it?
Yeah, I mean, both. I mean, in terms of how well it's done very well. You know, when we announced it, I think trying to do another black and white film, you know, and have something different is always going to be hard. Now, this was obviously an existing sheet film with a different application. It was meant for technical film copying. It was used in the medical industry and science. So, you know, this was something that potentially a bit of a gamble as to how well it will be received, but it's been absolutely brilliant. And I mean, as people have been using it, the feedback has been great. Michelle said, you know, she uses it a lot. I use it a lot as well. You know, I like it. I've shot many different subjects. So, you know, I think it's just the way that it handles, you know, reds or those sort of darker oranges and reds is something that you can really play to. So as long as you know the kind of the strengths and limitations of the film and what it can do, what it can handle, and what it does well, then people are getting fantastic results.
Portraits. Cool. I've seen a lot of people shoot portraits with it, and they're getting some really beautiful results.
You know, I mentioned earlier, Graeme, I think, you know, if you have a look on Shoot Film Like a Boss, the YouTube channel, Roger's YouTube channel, he did a comparison of shooting, I think it was Across 2, so a panchromatic film alongside Ortho, and he did a portrait of his daughter, and she had, you know, bright red lipstick, and it really kind of made the eyes pop, it made the lips stand out, and it made a much more striking portrait than a panchromatic film. So I think understanding what the film can do and where the strengths are is great, but I mean, I've used it in good light as a general walkabout, you know, film, and I love the results I've got from that as well. So, you know, I think when we launched it, we almost said it's great for landscapes or things without red. I think we were probably being a bit too harsh, really. You know, I think it's got a lot of applications. And the other thing actually worth probably pointing out is that this week, we're going to be launching a dedicated ULF for Ortho. So typically when Ortho is made, it has to be finished very soon after manufacturing. So you can't necessarily leave it as a master roll, you've got to convert it. So what we're doing is launching a dedicated ULF. There'll be a separate ULF.
Keep saying ULF, Matt. Do you want to explain what ULF is?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. So this is an annual campaign that we do for different sheet film sizes and sometimes even different roll sizes that people can order. Well, they're made to order. So you go through your participating dealer or distributor, and then those orders come back to us, compiled, and then we make those specifically. So it's something that we kind of only do once a year. And we do that for the 3 other sheet films that we do. And we normally do it spring, summertime. I think it was delayed last year. But this year, you know, because of the way that the cycle runs for Ortho, it's being run as a separate campaign to the Delta and HP5 films that we've got. So, yeah, so it's worth, if you shoot sheet film and you want to try Ortho in a non-standard format, so if it's not 4x5 or 8x10, then look out for this and get your orders in. I think they've got to be in by the end of February to stand a chance of being made.
So is there a place people can go to easily find out where they need to get in touch with people to do this? Is there a page on the website for that?
There
There will be.
She says, writing a note, add page to website.
Good. That sounds could be a good thing. Yeah, I think it's really interesting. As I said, I have yet to actually muck around with it. I've got this roll here, and it's now waiting to be shot. I was interested though. I had some sheets of old Ortho film from another manufacturer whose name shall not be mentioned. The yellow one, and I was doing a bit of reading up on it to find out about just general using it, developing it, etc. And I was interested to find that it was like people said, "Oh, this was popularly used by people like for things like taking men's portraits and stuff like that, because it really brings out the more of the ruggedness in the faces if you've got a bit of red in there and stuff like that." So it's a film that I think was a widely used part of the tool bag for a lot of different reasons back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, but we've kind of forgotten about it because it's just not been available. Have you seen an increase in the popularity of the sheet film with the rise of the roll films as well? Has that suddenly pushed that to the front of everyone's mind?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's, as I say, this sheet film has always primarily had a technical application. So if you're copying your negs, for example, to make a backup of your negs, or in science or in the medical world. So it's always going to have had that primary application, but we've certainly seen in sort of 4x5, 8x10, an increase in demand in that as well.
And I think it was a product we didn't particularly push either until we launched in the 35mm and the 120 roll formats. It was a product a lot of people weren't aware of unless they'd used it for one of the more technical applications. So just by making people aware that it exists, there's obviously seen an increase in demand for that. Yeah.
John, have you shot the Ortho at all?
I've shot 2 rolls of 120 in it, just in the local woods. I'm kind of ventured beyond kind of my usual trek with it yet. Yeah, I loved it. Like, particularly, actually, I do have a print here. So this was printed on the MG5, and just, I don't know if people can see, but the detail in it is quite stunning, actually. So yeah, like that's I found that as a really nice combo. Yeah, the Ortho on the MG5.
It's a very, very sharp, fine grain film, as you'd expect at that sort of speed anyway, but it really kind of can help, like John said, bring out a lot of those details. So again, it's a perfect film for printing as well.
That was going to be my question: is it a good film for printing? Because I suppose that will lead, as Sean answered, yes, clearly very much good with the new MG Deluxe. Which brings us on to let's talk about the new product launch. We've put that off long enough. So I'm going to let you guys tell me what the name is again. Portfolio, right?
Multigrade RC Portfolio. Yeah.
Cut that bit out, John. Edit it into the beginning when I say gallery.
I'll put it on screen for you so you can actually just read it out. How about that, Graeme?
Would be helpful. So this is very much following on from last 2019's release of the new formulation for multigrade. So tell us what this is and why we should care.
Yes.
You should always care, Graeme. I think, as you said at the start, I think sort of 18 months ago, so October 2019, we brought out Multigrade RC Deluxe, which a lot of people call Multigrade 5 because it's the 5th generation emulsion.
Outrageous.
So it's and what we've done with that is redevelop the emulsion completely. So from the ground up, so better, deeper black, so better DMAX, better spacing within the grade, especially in the mid grade, smoother.
More grade spacing as well.
Yeah, exactly. So there was a lot of features that we kind of brought in, and we also made the tint slightly warmer as well, because to separate what was Multigrade 4 from the cool tone product that we had. So, the feedback that we had on that was fantastic. So what we wanted to then do is take some of the applications from that and apply it to effectively what is our premium product. So Portfolio is a lot like Multigrade RC Deluxe, but it's on a double weight base. So it's a thicker, heavier, premium product. So that's effectively what we did. So last year, between shutdowns and lockdowns and various other things that our R&D team are working on, they kind of set about trying to do that, and that's what we launched. And I mean, the feedback has been fantastic from the launch last week. Really, really well received. I think those people that have seen it and tested it already really like it. What it does, and I think there's a video from Lina Bessonova that kind of summarizes it quite well. She tested against Multigrade RC Deluxe and Multigrade 5 Portfolio, and then against our Fiber Classic paper as well. And what you'll see is that the sort of tonality between the three is very, very similar. So it has different uses, different applications. So your general printing, if you're kind of wanting to determine the best exposure times and various things, you would do it on RC Deluxe perhaps. But then if you want to then do your final print on a heavyweight portfolio paper, or you want to do it on fiber, you can easily step between them and apply the same development times and various things, or same exposure times, sorry. So it's
yeah, and I think that's worth pointing out how valuable that is, because the cost difference between the multigrade RC and the premium papers is, it's a chunk. They're about twice as expensive, something around there, aren't they?
That's nothing to you, Graeme. You've got.
I'm rolling in money. Yeah, I spent £15 on some 20-year-old Ilford Speed. That's where I'm at with my purchase. But yeah, so the fact that you can find your settings, do all the work you need to do on the cheaper paper, which is still a lovely paper. I think it's important.
That's beautiful paper. I mean, it's still our, probably our best-selling paper. It's very, very popular. And this isn't designed to replace it. This is designed to complement it. It's if you were a student using this, or you're a professional, you might do lots of prints on RC Deluxe. But then if you want to hand one out to a client, or you want to print one, frame one, whatever else you might do, some, or your end of year submission, if you're a college student, you might do it on Portfolio, for example. It just has that kind of that more premium feel to it. It's just it handles better. But the kind of the key benefit then in that step up process, if you don't have the wash times that you'd have with a fiber paper, it dries much flatter straight away than that.
It's much easier to print. Yeah, you don't have to. You've not got the dry down as well. Obviously, when you're printing fiber, you have to allow for that shift in tone as the paper dries, and that isn't the same with the Portfolio. It prints like a resin, and it has all the benefits of a resin with the quality feel of a fiber. So you get the best of both worlds with it. It's a really nice paper.
So does the Portfolio, let me get the terminology right, the Portfolio MG5, does that respond in the same way as the Deluxe MG5 regards toning?
Terminology all wrong there, John. But yes.
RC Deluxe.
It's so simple.
RC Deluxe, sorry.
All our products follow a naming convention. So you've got Ilford Multigrade, and then it's either FB or RC, and then they would either have cool tone, warm tone, or if it's the kind of the neutral tone, it's either Deluxe, Portfolio, or in the case of fiber, it's Classic. Simple.
Got it. My head works backwards. That's the problem. I always read things.
And it follows the traditional, the pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4 Deluxe. Wait, hang on. Deluxe 2.
Yeah, I mean, and just to kind of put that under there, we did that primarily because way before kind of our time, when Classic, FB Classic went to from Generation 4 to its Generation 5, someone somewhere dropped the V from the name. So we wanted to just keep that aligned and straightforward. So that's why the kind of the 4 and the 5 got then dropped from the naming convention. It's a little insight into the branding world.
This is why we bring you here for these first little nuggets.
So yes, but people refer to it as Multigrade 5, and that's because we used the Generation V as part of the launch that we did when we launched it, and it is the 5th generation emulsion. So you're not far wrong, John.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the question.
Yeah,
I ignored the question. Sorry, what was the question?
It's toning, wasn't it? Again, I'm thinking going back to I haven't toned it myself, but going back to Lina's video, I think it is, she does some toning comparisons, and it appears to respond really well to both selenium, sepia. I mean, she did a few, and it really does respond well. It seems to respond better than the standard multigrade, I think was the conclusion she came to. So yeah, it does look like it. I'd be interested to see what other people do with other toners that are available out there as well. You know, if they want to share the.
I would imagine, with the toners, like the paper underneath must make quite a difference to that, because it's kind of sitting on the paper then coming through. I don't know. I'm actually let's move past that, because I'm going into realms of things that I'm just talking out my butt.
I think it's generally very responsive to it. I mean, again, the kind of the best barometer to check is Lina's video that she put out last week, some point last week, on her channel on YouTube. So you know, she's done a really kind of in-depth and really good comparison. So you know, I think the results she got were fantastic, and I think we generally, when we launched the RC Deluxe paper, we were really pleased with how it toned, and that was one of the strengths of it. And obviously, being that this is kind of related very heavily to that product, it tones, you know, equally well. So it's for an RC paper, yes, it's very responsive to toning.
And that's some of the feedback we got from others as well, like Tim Woodman. Even though he's not massively active on social media, he has a huge following on his newsletters and on his website. And he tested this for us and was really happy with how it toned, because obviously he's known for toning and for that. So, and the same as the Deluxe, So I don't know if he's done anything strange like tried a litho or anything like that with it. I've not seen anything on that, but as for straight toning, it does seem to take toner really well. So
has the portfolio papers existed before, hasn't it? And is it just was it in the postcard range? Is that correct?
Portfolio existed as a standalone product, so it was previously multigrade 4 Portfolio. But I think, you know, as I say, what we've done then is completely changed the emulsion. So like we did with generation 4 to 5 of the standard RC Deluxe, so the normal weight base, this double weight one has had a completely new emulsion applied to it. So it's a new product in every sense, other than the fact it is replacing that previous product.
So yeah, you were sorry, John mentioned the postcard, and that was part of the previous range, and we've still got that same size available, which is the 10 by 15. The only difference now is they're not back printed, because to be honest, it's 2 lines, and we've put a template in there, so if people still want to use them as a postcard, they can. And at some point we'll do a video, I'm sure, on that. But yeah, I mean, they can still be used as a postcard, as a template in the box showing you how to use it as a postcard, but they're not actually back printed anymore.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really smart way forward. And I know, speaking to people who are fond of the postcard format and like it, but they have said that sometimes the printing can be the thing that, if anything's going to be a bit wonky, it might be the printing on there. So be able to do that yourself and just get it on there for when you want it and not for when you don't seems like the perfect solution to that.
Yeah, in theory, you can do it on any, you know, the only the 4x6 inch or the 10 by 15 we have in the Multigrade RC Deluxe and Portfolio. So they're the two that, but you can do it on the RC Deluxe paper as well if you
not
chose.
going to post as nicely though, is it? With it
no, it's not. No. So yeah, that's why we've kind of kept that size in the range, particularly because, you know, we know a lot of people liked it, and it's a shame it couldn't have the back printing on. But we think, you know, this is a kind of a solution. You know, you're writing on the back of it anyway. Just get a ruler, draw a couple of lines on, leave space for a stamp, and then you know different.
Yeah. No, that sounds good. And you said you hopefully be posting a video up. Well, you can do that with your 14-year-old at some point, Matt. You can knock one of those out with your elite.
He can't draw straight lines. So
hopefully you might be able to do the drawing straight lines, but again,
I struggle to. But yeah.
I think it's really good, and I think I mean, obviously, for people who are printing professionally or who have reasons why they want to have this output for their body of work, it's a perfect product. But also for people like myself who are just getting into printing and who, I mean, I'm very much enjoying using the Multigrade Deluxe. It's fantastic. But there are times when you want to make something on a heavier weight paper. At the moment, the two, I mean, putting aside all the old films that I'm burning just to practice, that I'm picking up from eBay for buttons and then just going, well, let's be rubbish on this. But aside from that, the two fresh films I'm using are the Multigrade Deluxe and the RC Art. Not the RC Art, the MG Art paper.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I love the MG Art paper. It's a beautiful paper, but it is a premium paper, so it's more expensive, and it isn't running. It is not the same emulsion as is on the Deluxe. So you can't just go, okay, I'm going to take this here and use it. So if you're going to make a good print, you're having to do all the test strips, do all the tests, do everything on it, and you're more conscious of, well, there's another £2 worth of paper I've just cut into sheets, and particularly when the whole point that you're doing it is because you want to be making an especially good print, so you're going to be even more careful with it. So as I said earlier, to be able to do all of that refinement on a paper that you're less worried about getting it right on, and then to just transfer that to either this fantastic new easy to use portfolio paper or onto the fiber paper, that seems hugely valuable. Financially, as much as anything, it's a really good move.
I think one of the things that we're trying to do in general is trying to encourage people to get in the darkroom and print. I think what we've seen, I think we've probably mentioned this in the past, but what we've seen over the years is a great resurgence in people picking up film cameras, people shooting film. At the moment, we're seeing the odd shoots of it here and there where, people like yourself, Graeme, are creating their own darkroom space or kind of utilising space that they can print. And what we want to do is just try and encourage that. So putting out videos with your co-host, Rachel, trying to encourage people in there, some of the simple, basic techniques, things like that really will kind of get people over the barrier that it's difficult to do or that it's time consuming. I was in the office last week and I spent about an hour and a half in the darkroom. And to be honest, I've never really printed in all the years I've been at Ilford. So one of the things that I want to do this year, personally, not necessarily linked to work, is spend more time in the darkroom and get printing. And I absolutely loved it. I'm not just saying I absolutely loved every minute of it.
You should have seen him. He's dead tough with himself, weren't you?
I was. It's like I've got some there. I'm not going to show. I was really kind of enjoying it, and it's very, very addictive as well. You can fly
through these bags.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for the fact that I had to come out and actually get on with some work as well, but it was just about making sure that I can do it and I can try it and I can talk about it. But I loved every second of it. So it's one of those where we would always try and encourage people just to try it for themselves and experience that, because I think it's quite easy to get addicted to it. So yeah,
and it's so easy to make a space into a dark room. And something I started seeing more on the social and on different groups on Facebook, even on Insta, even on Twitter, is that sorry, I've just noticed the sun's coming through really brightly through my window, but I've kind of got a really bright.
Ortho out.
I know. It's people saying, I've been talking about doing this for ages. I've converted my bathroom, the cupboard under the stairs, wherever, into a dark room, my kitchen, or the shed or something like that. I'm really excited. I'm doing this, and this, and it's really good to see, because it's not that hard. If you've got a space, you can make light type. Running water's great, but it's not needed as long as you've got access to water. I definitely encourage people.
One of the friends of the show, Billy, he sent me a photo of his setup the other day, and he's over in America, and he's got his under the stairs. He's got like two tables. What the lower one's got his enlarger on, the high one's got 3 trays, and that's it. And he's got a dunk to wash the prints in. So it's just you don't need much space at all. I've seen a huge uptake. Like since the first lockdown, people are like, "Oh, I need a little project to do while I'm stuck at home," and it's been the perfect thing for a lot of people, is actually to make that leap and start printing.
And I think when you start it, that's it. It's like Matt says, it's addictive. You'll make your first print, and you'll look at it the first time you make it and think that's brilliant. You'll look at it again 3 weeks later and think that's shite. And you'll go back, you'll amend it and you'll check. So Gleep, you'll amend it, you'll change it, and I mean, I've revisited the same thing time and time again. I can change it every time, and I'll be happy with it one day. I'll look at it in a few weeks and go, oh, I could just burn a bit more sky in or do something to it. And I think that's the nice thing. You can continuously evolve and change, and depending on what paper you print it on, and and
you can see your own development as well. I mean, from going in the first time, as Michelle said, you can revisit your negatives and print different, and every print's unique, but you can almost then track your own progress and how well you develop it in there, because, you know, learning through trial and error, I mean, one of the things, unfortunately, at the moment, things like community darkrooms are generally shut. Colleges are typically closed where a lot of these courses happen. So there isn't necessarily the same access to learning that there was before, but that's why we're kind of push more of this educational content onto YouTube as well, and why people like John and yourself that, you know, out there doing it and showing that you're doing is going to encourage more people as well. So I think for me, there is a resurgence coming. I don't think it's anywhere near the same level as film yet, but what we're hoping to see is that, you know, anyone that shoots film, once they get the opportunity to go into the darkroom, that, you know, they'll like it just as much, if not more, than they will the process of shooting film.
On the subject of your education and your YouTube stuff, can we look forward to any more videos from a certain Ms. Brewster? Is that likely to be forthcoming?
Maybe.
Wow, there's some blank faces there. Well, we'll wait. We'll keep an eye on the YouTube channel.
We have a few ideas, Graeme. Yes. So I mean, we always have ideas for content. Lots of ideas for various types of content that we'd like to do. I mean, one of the big challenges, anyway, from last year is, you know, being able to film in a safe environment. So, you know, that's one of the things we always have to keep in mind, safety and all these other things when filming. So yes, we would definitely like to do some more. So go and subscribe to our channel. It's that shameless.
Yeah. John and I would like to put ourselves forward for like a combo thing. We've already got Dip and Dunk's Darkroom Adventures. I think that would be a big hit.
Which one's Dip and which one's Dunk? That's the whole.
That's Dip. That's definitely Dip.
One of the things that is interesting to me about the home printing part of film photography is that in some ways, in some quiet ways, it's actually more alive than the photography side of it is, because there are quite a lot of companies still making new equipment. So Patterson, I mean, obviously they make stuff for film developing stuff, but they're also still making all the stuff for printing. Nova, who do, you know, print washes and print developers, they've got a new line of stuff coming out this year. You've got new enlargers still being made by companies like Kaiser, and I know there's other ones as well. Like, there's new stuff being manufactured.
So it's probably worth pointing out, I had a conversation with Intrepid last week, and I don't think they'll shout at me for saying this, but they're about to bring out a new enlarger. So you know, awesome. I think that they've already announced it. They haven't given much details, so I'm not. I've not broken any NDAs saying this, but you know,
Max, he's really angry with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think that it looks great on paper. You know what it's trying to do. It's compact, and one of the benefits of you setting up a home darkroom in a small space is that this is light. It's compact. You can put it away. You can mount it on a copy stand or tripod. But instead of like their previous one, which was a back for their 4x5, this is geared towards 35mm and 120 neg. So, and I believe the price point is very, very affordable too. So what that does, as well as all the other brands that you said, is it gives people who are wanting to set up at home all the necessary kit. You can pick up enlargers secondhand, obviously, as well on eBay and the like as well, or through clubs and so on. So, you know, the number of excuses is getting less and less as to why we can't do it. You know, and they say Patterson make all the trays, the kits. We have bits and bobs that complement it as well, all the chems, all the papers and various things. So, yeah, now is a great time to start going and have a go.
Something just to jump back, we're talking about community darkrooms, and obviously they're not open at the moment. One of the things we've got on the website is we've got a store finder, and part of that is a darkroom is for community darkrooms. But what we're trying to do at the moment is populate it. So I'd say, if anybody knows of any community darkrooms, please, or if you have a community darkroom, send us the details, and if it's not already on there, and let us get it on there, because the more we can get on there, then obviously the easier it is for people to go and print when they're allowed to. And this can be all over the world. I mean, the map's global, so the more we can get on there, the better.
We want this to be the definitive darkroom finder for the entire world. So anyone that has a darkroom that they let out for commercial use, so not necessarily the, your shed, Graeme, where you might let someone in and,
you guys are welcome anytime.
No.
Who's going to want to go in Graeme's shed?
Exactly. It's not an enticing prospect. But, if you've got a community darkroom, send us the details. We'll get it on there. And then hopefully then it just shows that there are these popping up in cities, towns all over the world. And some of them are very, very active. Some of them run courses, classes, So, get them online, get them listed with us, and hopefully then we'll kind of have this definitive darkroom finder tool for people to use.
Yeah, and also share your pictures of your own darkrooms. We've got there's a gallery on the website too, which is My Darkroom. So if people share their pictures on any social, #MyDarkroom, and upload them to the website, then people can go there for inspiration. So share a picture of your shed, and
I might just do that.
It gives people something to aspire to, doesn't it? Well, maybe not.
Yeah, it does. And also, I think it can help to see that you don't need a ton of room, and you can, as you were saying, John, about the way Billy's got his stuff set up, like you just need to do it. And actually, in many ways, there's never been a better time for darkroom printing, because the technology of the papers, all that stuff that you were saying earlier, Matt, which to a lot of people, myself included, doesn't mean a great deal, but what it means fundamentally is it's easier to get good prints from it. All that stuff about the separation means it's easier now to make good prints than it ever was before. Like I said,
you should do our marketing, Graeme. That kind of sums it up quite well in a nutshell. It's easier to get better prints.
Yeah, absolutely. I said that because I've just been looking for stuff to burn, to use just to practice things like dodging and burning. So I've been looking just for cheap old papers at the moment, and kind of accidentally I've ended up with some graded paper and some old paper, and that stuff, it's a lot harder to get results that I'm happy with. Actually, because you guys actually still sell graded paper, don't you? Your Ilfo Speed ranges. I was amazed to see that is an excellent range still. Is that still popular?
Not so much, no. I mean, is the general gist of it. There are people that use it, but I think now the way that the kind of the multigrade papers have gone, it's spelled the end for graded paper for many people. You can print multigrade paper as effectively a fixed grade paper anywhere as a single grade. So the range that we've had has been narrowed over the years. So I think we've got a fibre base and an RC base, so Ilford Speed and Ilford Brom. But I think they're only in one speed. I think there are 2 or 3. I forget.
1 grade on the 5 and 2 grades on the Ilford Speed at the moment.
Yeah. So we don't get a lot of demand for it at all. But again, that's why a lot of our effort goes into making sure that the multigrade papers are as good as they can be. So that's where we kind of, if you think when we released the one last October, October 4, I should say, that was kind of many years in the making, just to make sure that this product with Bob on fit for the way people use it now. So, yeah.
So what's next? What can we look forward to next?
We could tell you, but then we'd have to shoot you. So,
well, good luck. I'm in my room.
We could do the finger guns like your profile picture.
Yeah.
There's always things in the
There's ongoing development and research is happening. We can look forward to more stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're trying to do with all things is make things accessible and easy. One of the things, just to touch on the printing side actually as well, is that we did a survey I don't know, 12 months ago. Time's a blur. I have no idea how long ago, but we did a survey purely about printing, just to try and find out, what's stopping people doing it, or those that do it, what do they like about it. And so there were results. Obviously, this was a pre-COVID survey, but they were really kind of interesting. And this is why we've looked to address some of the challenges that people were putting out. I mean, one of the things that people said that stopped them doing more printing was time. Time was the biggest factor. And there's not a lot we can do about that, but that's why we've seen through various lockdowns that people are printing more, because they suddenly have time. Space was the other thing, but it's also that kind of perception of equipment availability or cost or various other things. So again, that's why we've been looking at a range of different things. So one of the goals that we've got we had it through last year as well, but certainly this year as well, is making sure that people have access to darkrooms. People are more encouraged to print, so there's more educational content. Any of the obstacles or the blockers, we'll look for ways to remove them, because we see print as every bit as important as film and capturing those images on film. So for us, the two are kind of very much joined and equally as important. So we're always committed to film, but we're equally as committed to paper and printing. So for us, paper is always going to be, and printing is going to be a big focus.
Getting back to what Michelle said earlier about being able to revisit old images and try them again. I've recently going back through some of my old negatives and trying to make prints from stuff, and I was very much reminded of a film that I really love that is no longer available, which is Fuji Neopan 1600. So if you happen to know of any firms that have any sort of relationship with Fuji that could maybe make a black and white film that they used to do, I don't know, it would be really handy.
I don't know what you're talking about, Graeme.
No. That's not, I think that you would, but I'm just saying, if you know of anybody who does,
off the top of my head,
that would be pretty great. I mean, I know Fuji, they're fully into film at the moment. They're really leaning into it, pushing forward.
I would recommend using HP5, push to 1600.
Or down to 200 pulled.
Yeah.
Okay, I will try one of those two things. Yeah, I tried pushing some FP4 recently, and it didn't.
1600
FP4.
Yeah, not to 1600, no, only to 400, but it got a little contrasty. It probably wasn't how I just develop everything in
I think there's a lot of people out there that will only shoot HP5 at 800, for example, but something like HP5 pushes very, very well, better than any other film that we have, and likewise Delta 3200 pulls very, very nicely. So you've got two options there at 1600.
Yeah,
go. I've shot FP4 at 1600 and it's fine.
Yeah.
You were having blue fits when I was shooting it at 400. Like, don't do that.
The problem with that is you'd massively underexpose the image.
I don't know what you're talking about. Let's move on.
No pushing was going to save
that. Before we wrap up, just want to very quickly touch on this. Because it's something that's been kind of talked about on social medias, and whilst we've got you guys here, it seems sensible to ask you about it. You have had a very small but a few issues with some of the roll film, particularly the very slow roll film. Fill us in on what the issue has been and where you're at with it.
So we have. I mean, we first noticed a kind of an escalation, I guess you could say, quite early last year. So I think we put out a communication March time, Michelle, if I'm wrong.
Lockdown, I think it was.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, kind of straight away after that, we went into kind of lockdown. So things haven't moved as quickly as we'd like. But over the past year, effectively, we've been putting in a number of measures that we're trying to look to address any concerns. Now, one of the challenges that we've got is that the number of complaints or the number of people that have had this issue is very, very, very small. We're talking way less than 1% of all roll films made, probably even less than 0.5%. I don't have the number to hand, so maybe not quote me on that, but it is very, very small. So one of the things that we've obviously been trying to do is trying to understand the cause, but at the same time trying to put a solution in place. So what our R&D team have been doing is putting in lots of different measures, and make no mistake, this is their number one priority. So all the stuff with new portfolio and everything else, the kind of the roll film side of things is very much being the kind of the priority. So yeah, there's been lots of different things that they've done, and I guess one of the things that they've found and what we've noticed in terms of where the kind of the more issues come from, it's down to things like heat, humidity, to the temperature, how the film is stored, and this goes to everything that how it's transported, and not necessarily at the consumer end. So this is, you know, everything from the kind of humidity controls, both in production, in transport, in packaging, and then also the kind of the date on it. So we have a kind of a shelf life of these products for a reason. So typically you get closer to that or beyond those sort of shelf lives, you're more likely going to see an issue. So again, with all things, you know, shoot fresh film, buy fresh film, you know, and keep that going, and you know, process it well, keep it stored safe. But yeah, you know, that it is still being looked at, and I would say that, you know, that there are kind of measures already in place that we hope will have addressed most of the kind of issues people have had. But yeah, we will.
It's an ongoing process, isn't it? There have been some incremental changes that have been put into place already and have fed through, and people will be receiving stocks with some of those changes in the minor things, but any little improvement, everything, any improvement we make obviously feeds through, and then the next one and the next one. But it's like Matt says, it is the number one priority. We have a team that are doing nothing but and I can understand how frustrating it must be for people who've had a batch and have had a chunk of what, you know, to them a lot of films that have been ruined by this. But for us, when something is so intermittent, it's actually much harder to find a solution. And
Absolutely. It's probably worth
10 films that have been ruined, and for them that is a massive number, you know. And it would be for me if I had 10 films with an issue, I wouldn't be happy.
It's also our belief that it's not linked to batches either. So you know, there's still a lot of unknown, and this is partly why when we went out to the public sort of in March time, and we've continued to do so, one of the things that we continue to reiterate is, if you've had this issue, get in touch, because, you know, then we can start building up a bigger and bigger picture of how prevalent it is, what countries it's in. We're seeing it more in those kind of hotter, humid countries than we do in colder climates, for example. Not exclusively, but that's where we've kind of seen it more. So there's a page on our website with a form. So if anyone ever has the issue, don't think we're ignoring it. What we want to kind of do is build up more and more of a picture. We're still working on it every single day. And it's a case of, as soon as we've got something we can say, then we kind of obviously will do. But it's one of those, at the moment, it's incremental improvements to the robustness of the film, various different things. There's loads of stuff, humidity controls, you know.
We work with dealers, haven't we?
Distributors for kind of how they ship the product, because often once it leaves the factory, it's out of our control. They arrange the shipping, so we've been kind of putting recommendations in on how product is shipped. So there's various different things. So it's obviously it's a known issue. We are working on it, but what I would say and what I'd encourage people is that it's still only affecting a very, very, very small percentage of film. So, you know, if you store it well, if you shoot in date, then, you know, I believe you shouldn't have any issues. But that said, there is always a very minuscule risk that you know, it could happen.
But yeah, please, if you do, let us know. I mean, the website's ilfordphoto.com, and it's /product-feedback, and there's a form on there. Just fill it in, send it to us, and we can look at it, and we can build a big picture.
Yeah, definitely be useful to you as well, wouldn't it, having that information? And I mean, I'm writing out that the line that's been primarily affected is the 120 Pan F. And the Pan F is a film which you've always made a point of saying, as we said earlier, shoot it fresh, use it quickly, because this film does not have a, there's some films that people go, oh look, this is 60-year-old film and it's still getting images, but Pan-F is a very fine-grained film. It needs to be stored carefully and used promptly, because if you don't, take it from me, you get some real funky you leave it on camera for 3 years.
Pan-F's always been one that we've recommended. We've always advised people that the latent image can deteriorate if you don't develop it quickly. So, it's one of those, out of all the film, shoot it within its day and develop it quickly after shooting, or process it quickly. So, that's always been one. I mean, the other one that I would say appears more as well is FP4. But, these are kind of ones that kind of are, FP4 is obviously a more popular film, so that's probably why that you might see it as a general percentage. But, it's one of those where it's highly regrettable. We hate it. We shoot the film ourselves, Michelle and I. Now, I shoot a lot of roll film and I've never had any issues. But, for those that do, we obviously are really, we sympathise. We're gutted for them, because we know that when you take it, it's what? Sorry.
We know how we feel.
Yeah, you'd be absolutely gutted. But I think we just want to kind of assure people we are looking at this as a priority.
I was pleased to note that it wasn't my developing that messed up my rolls. Because I was like, I had a couple of rolls that it happened to, and for ages I was trying to work out where it was happening in my development process, and I was scratching my head for so long, and I was just like, but this film's come out fine. It wasn't this one. And it's like, so right, it's actually the film that it was. So in some ways, it was a relief.
It's so hit and miss, and I know we've had a lot of nice feedback, actually, because the film community is generally very positive and very responsive to these sort of things. So we've had a lot of nice positive feedback. Obviously, people appreciate what we're trying to do, and I think for us, the wider the problem is, in some ways, the easier it might be to fix. Now, we don't want the problem to be bigger than we believe it is, but at the same time, that unfortunately just slows down the ability to fix it, because it's trying to isolate that problem. It's trying to recreate the problem, and obviously then what we've got to do, one of the challenges is heat, humidity, or one of the challenges is the age of the film. We have to, through our testing, try and replicate the age or replicate the heat, and those tests take time as well. So that's why people don't always, they've not seen as much communication on it as we like to put out, because those tests are always ongoing and they take time to kind of work through the system.
It's not like at the IKEA factory where they've got somebody simulating sitting on a chair 1,000 times a second. You can't simulate film aging, can you?
They've got Matt sitting on a roll of film 1,000 times a second. That's why it's all wrong, because he's not been there to sit on the film.
We wouldn't put that one out. No, God knows how that would develop. So it's been looked at, though. As a priority is the general answer, Graeme.
Yeah, no, but that's cool. Well, I said that's the main thing. You are all working hard, and as you said, it's your number one priority. And
and as I say, just to reiterate, we believe there have been incremental improvements made to all of the kind of the robustness of all the films and everything else. So we think it should be less and less and less. But again, unless people report them in and tell us the issues through that webpage Michelle mentioned, that's the only way we'll ever kind of know if we've actually conquered the problem or not.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's wrap up on happier notes. Let's get back to the portfolio paper, the Ilford MG RC Portfolio.
Yeah, stop there. Yeah.
So you've said that this stuff is rolling out quite quickly. Now, I had a look on your website last week when the announcement went out, and at that point you only had the 8x10 on there. How quickly is stuff coming online? How quickly are people going to be able to get all the different sizes, etc.?
Very quickly. Yeah.
I was going to say we should have the 10x15s 100s, the 8x10 100s, and the 11x14s 50s should all be there anytime. They might not be quite there at the moment. I might have to go and refresh the back of the website, but it'll be there.
They were finished last week. Those sizes, so they're all made.
And then within the next week, hopefully, we'll start shipping their way around the world.
That's great. That's great. I don't know about you, John. I'm really looking forward to trying this paper out.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to wasting some of it onto my terrible pictures. But I'm guessing you'll hopefully. So, John, where will this fit into your workflow?
Oh, I'd have to wait and see. I'd wait and see how sturdy it is. It potentially might replace my deluxe papers depending on price point. The deluxe paper I tend to just use for personal work now, so it depends. It depends if I can kind of where does it sit kind of price wise.
It is more expensive than RC Deluxe. I don't think necessarily drastically so, but it's definitely, because it's a premium product, price higher than that. So again, it kind of depends on where you do. We see this as a paper that you would use for special prints, for example. But again, we know that with a lot of printers, they will only use this product. So it really depends on you as a kind of individual. But in terms of its robustness, I think Shoot Film Like a Boss described it as a wobble board. He started flapping it around. It is a good, sturdy.
It feels like a thick. I mean, it's paper.
So
Do you think it's hard?
I guess the different can you roll it? Because I roll my fiber and my resin coated prints to ship sometimes. Whereas
depends what size it is. I mean, if it's a big enough size, it should roll okay. Yeah, if you roll in a 4x6, it might not be as forgiving. But I don't know. I've never tried it. John is the honest answer. But it's the same base weight as fiber. So again, can't see why not.
If you think, I mean, some of our fibers are 320. This is 255, so it should roll.
Can you crumple it into a ball? Because a lot of my prints I crumple into a ball and throw in the bin. Does it crumple well?
RC doesn't like being crumpled too well, in fairness. No. It's actually too robust. I don't know if it's strong enough.
My tiny weak hands will be struggling to put it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It's an absolute delight, as always, to catch up with you. And I'm glad that you're both keeping well and at least borderline sane at home. I suppose you at this point have no idea. You were saying earlier, Matt, that you are getting into the office one day a week or so. Yeah. Any idea how long before any kind of normality returns for you when you can get back in there properly?
It really depends. I mean, obviously in the UK now we're in lockdown 3, I think, which doesn't show any signs of going away anytime soon. So I think for us the general principle is we can go in if we need to go in. There's a kind of a rota that we can use if we want to or need to be in the office for anything. But I think obviously we want to make sure that production are kept as isolated to the manufacturing, the engineering, the warehouse. Those teams are just kept as safe and isolated as possible. So, for example, Michelle and I, we can work at home, so we are doing. So we only go in if necessary, really. I can't see that changing anytime soon. I think it's down to the government more so than it's down to us, I think.
Weird.
Blame Boris.
And Michelle, on the social media, which you look after all of the social media, very important to notice. You do a very good job of it. You still doing the Friday? What's the correct hashtag?
Friday favourites.
Friday favourites.
We're still doing Friday favourites, and we've been really lucky because people have been fantastic and have created some amazing content for us, from guest blogs to how I got this picture. There was a recent new video in the My Film Story series on YouTube from a guy called Simone Morelli, who's based in Rome, and he's a street photographer, and he has some really nice shots on there as well. So we've been really looking in the amount of content we've been able to put out and share. Friday favourites is always popular, and obviously different themes each week. So if you look at the latest post, you can see what's coming up for the next few weeks. We'd love people to shoot fresh every week and develop, but obviously that's not going to happen. So yeah, we usually find that people, if they can see something coming up, they can dig out some negs, they can scan them, or they can print them and share them with us. I mean, the other things that we do try to fairly regularly do is we'll update the headers on the website, and we're still doing the in focus interviews So, which started originally almost 12 months ago now as the lockdown sessions when we first went into lockdown, and we've just done our 31st interview. So
that's awesome.
And they're great. We've learned so much about some people, a lot of people in the community, and what's good about them is every time we have somebody on, they nominate somebody else. So it's hopefully self-fulfilling, and we can keep going with those. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, there you go. Follow Ilford Photo on Twitter and Instagram. Matt, where are you? You're on both of those things, aren't you?
Yes. I don't know if anyone would want to follow me, but
of course they do.
I'm Matt Parry Photography on Instagram, and Matt Parry Photo, I think, on Twitter.
That's not your film account, Matt.
Oh no, yeah, Matt Parry Photo Film, my film pictures.
Get it right.
On Instagram, yeah.
So, probably a little bit quiet at the moment while you're not doing so much traveling.
That's the thing. I was trying to work out. I'd shot, I don't know, I normally shoot about 80 to 100 rolls a year. I probably only shot about 40 last year. So,
bad, given what last year was.
But, partly not, getting abroad, because I tend to shoot mainly when I travel. But yeah, it's still nice to get out and about shooting locally. Maybe not this time of year, but it's been miserable.
John, before we let them escape, is there anything else any other curveballs you want to throw at them at the last minute to make them uncomfortable?
Has anyone found the winning ticket yet?
Oh, good question.
No. What do you mean? Do you know, right, this is my thing. At the moment, we keep saying to people, I've got some of that in my freezer. Open it. Open the tub. If you've got a 35mm film in your freezer with the 140 or a 120 film with the 140 logo on the box, in the 35mm, open the box, open the tub, have a quick look in. You can put it back in your freezer. In the 120 film, just open the box because it'll be outside the foil. Yeah. It only runs until June.
So I think, the deadline for the prize is June. Now, obviously, the prize was a really, really big one, a trip to see us, which people can't necessarily do at the moment anyway. So you
not necessarily want to do anyway, but
no. So if the prize is found before then, we'll honour it. But obviously, after June, the prize technically expires. So we probably couldn't offer that same prize, but we will still, if someone finds it, do something. But we'd like to give the big prize. It depends when, but we'd still like to give the big prize away. So obviously, get looking. We want it found before June.
Did it definitely go out?
Pardon?
Did the ticket definitely go out? Did somebody actually put it in? Have you got a photo of somebody putting the ticket in a box?
What we didn't want to know is which film it went into. So we know it went in because it was done in finishing, but purposely Michelle and I didn't want to know which film it went into. So there was only 12 different SKUs, so 12 different product lines it could go into, and there are 12 most popular film products. We know it went out the door, I don't know, early-ish not last year. Was it?
No, the year
before. So it is out there somewhere. That packaging stopped being used in September 2019, and we've sold a hell of a lot of films since. So go and have a look at that.
Finding one of the expired films in 20 years' time or something.
Yeah, that's I'm just waiting for you to get back into the office and open the drawer and go, oh no, it's in here.
No, that's definitely not the case. It is out there somewhere.
Well, there you go. I know we've said this before. Open all of your film, pull out all the reels. It might be hidden inside the carton.
It's between the wrapper and the film on a 120. No,
exactly. That's okay, guys. Well, we'll let you go now. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always a delight, and it's just great to hear that things are trucking along as always at Ilford. And the new paper is a really fun development, and hopefully it won't be long before you're back on here with more news. Right, guys?
Hopefully, hopefully that'll be nice.
This dropped nicely out of the blue, so that's always good. Well, we will leave you be. We'll be back later in the week, listeners, with your regularly scheduled Sunny 16 podcast with special guest this week, Nikki Cooley, which I'm really looking forward to. So until then, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and goodbye.
Thanks, Ben.